Okay, I'm going to go over the do now and the notes from today. So, the first thing that we did on the do now was we reviewed what we had done yesterday. So, for the first one, it says find the measure of B angle. Remember, that's the angle symbol, angle, BAC. Now, remember, the letter in the middle tells us where the vertex is located. So A is in the middle, so therefore A is the vertex. And if you notice, the vertex is on the circle, so we call that an inscribed angle. And we said that an inscribed angle is equal to half of the arc measure, or we can say the arc divided by 2. So the angle we're looking at is this angle right here, angle BAC. So the arc that we're looking at is the 60 degrees, which is from point B to point C. So we have 60 degrees divided by 2, so our answer is 30 degrees. So the angle BAC is 30 degrees. The next question, same thing, says to find the measure of arc FE, so that right there symbol means arc. And when you have the M right here, that means in degrees. And we learned that an arc is equal to 2 times the angle measure. So arc FE starts at F and goes the shortest distance around to get to E. So we're talking about this angle right here. So it's the 70 degrees, so we have 2 times 70 degrees, which means our arc is 140 degrees. The second question has to do with intersecting the same arc. So we said if 2 angles intersect the same arc, then the 2 angles are congruent. Okay, we're talking about an angle here, the measure of angle, ZWY. W is in the middle, so W is the vertex. That tells me the point on the circle. So here's W, and it's the point on the circle. So we're talking about point Z, point W, point Y. So we're talking about this angle right here. So the arc that it has in common, if you extend it out, is this part right here, ZY, arc ZY. That's the arc that we're talking about. So when we look at the only other chords or line segments in the circle are these line segments right here. And it also intersects the same arc, ZY. And our theorem says if they intersect the same arc, then the 2 are congruent. So that means that W is congruent to X. This angle is the same as this angle because they both have this arc in common. So therefore, we can say that angle ZWY is equal to the measure of angle ZXY. So 8A minus 9 is equal to 7A plus 1. Solving for A, so we subtract 7A from both sides, so that I get all my A's together on the same side. So I have A minus 9 is equal to 1. Then I move my 9 to the other side by adding, because I have to change the sign. So that cancels out, leaving A equals 10. Now, it wants to know the measure, so therefore to find the measure of angle ZWY, we plug it back in, so I have 8 times 10 minus 9, 80 minus 9 leaves me 71 degrees. And then that's my answer, 71 degrees. Okay? Now, the new information that we learned about today has to do with an inscribed polygon, which says it's one whose sides are chords of the circle and whose vertices are points on the circle. And of course, So the first polygon we're going to talk about is a triangle. And it says if an inscribed angle of a triangle intercepts a diameter or a semicircle, then if and only if the angle is a right angle. Okay, so if we look at the problem, like on number 1, it says find x. There's x. It's part of this angle right here. Now, that we have a triangle, this triangle right here, okay, so since from point W across to point X, it goes straight through the middle of the circle or the center of the circle, then we call WX, that line segment, is a diameter. And the angle that's across from the diameter is going to be a right angle, because this angle right here intersects this part of the circle, which is half the circle, so 180 divided by 2 means it's going to equal 90 degrees. Okay, so the measure of angle Y is 90 degrees. So, in order to determine where the 90-degree angle is, again, you're going to say, here is my diameter, across from the diameter, sorry about that, across from my diameter is where my right angle is going to be. So that's going to be at angle Y. So angle Y is 90 degrees. Okay, now, because there's 180 degrees in a triangle, that's the sum of the interior angles, the angles inside the triangle, then that means if I take 180 degrees and I subtract 90, then that leaves me 90 degrees for the other two angles. Which means that those angles are complementary. Okay, complementary meaning they add up to 90 degrees. Okay? So for number 1, that means that angle W, which is x plus 12, and angle x, which is the x degrees, have to add up to 90 degrees. So for number 1, the measure of angle W plus the measure of angle x is equal to 90 degrees because they are complementary. So I substitute in x plus 12 and x degrees. Alright, I want to solve for x, so I'm going to combine my x's together, so I get 2x plus 12, because there's not another plane number over here, equals 90. I move 12 to the other side by subtracting. So 2x is equal to 78. Divide by 2. I'm going to get x is equal to 39. Now, in this instance, because it asks us to find x, when we get here, we're done, and we can actually say it is 39 degrees, which is the measure of angle x, because it says x and it's got x degrees. Okay, so the answer is x is 39 or 39 degrees. All right, now for number 2, it says find the measure of angle W. Well, angle W is x plus 12. So for the second part, in order to find the measure of angle W, I've got to say x plus 12. I now know x is 39, so I substitute in 39, and I'm going to get 51 degrees. And that's the answer to my second part. Okay? All right, now number 3 is like number 1 and 2. So at first it says find x. Okay? Now, since here is my diameter, r, all the way across over to t, goes through the center of the circle, so that's my diameter. So opposite the diameter, which is angle S, is 90 degrees. So the measure of angle S is 90 degrees. That means that angle R and angle T are complementary. So the measure of angle R plus the measure of angle T is equal to 90 degrees because they are complementary, and they add up to 90 degrees. So, since the measure of angle R plus the measure of angle T equals 90 degrees, I know angle R is 2x degrees, and angle T is 4x minus 6 degrees. So I combine like terms on this side, so 2x and 4x gives me 6x. This negative 6 doesn't have anything else to go with it, so it's minus 6 equals 90. I want to move my 6 to the other side, so when I move it over here, I do the opposite, so I add 6 to both sides. So I'm left with 6x equals 96. I divide both sides by 6 to get rid of that 6. So I'm left with 16. Now, the question says to find x. So now that I know that x is 16, I am done with number 3. All right, now for question number 4, it says find the measure of angle T. Well, T is this right here. So the measure of angle T is equal to 4x minus 6. So I substitute in, I bring up my 16 and plug it in. So I have 4 times 16 minus 6. So I get 54 minus 6, which is 48 degrees. Oh, I'm sorry, 64. Messed up. Let's erase that. Probably made a mistake. So it's 64 minus 6, which is 58 degrees. Big difference. Okay? Alrighty. Now, the second part of our thing for today says that if we have a quadrilateral, which is a four-sided figure, and it is inside a circle, then opposite angles are supplementary. Opposite meaning, okay, the first one for number 5 says the measure of angle R. R is your vertex. So my angle goes this way, so I can eliminate Q, and this way, so I can eliminate S. I can't use either one of those, so I look across from it, and I see P, so I have to use it. So that means that those two angles, are, when I add them together, because it says they're supplementary, equals 180 degrees. Okay, so angle R and angle P are opposite angles, meaning they are not connected by a side of the quadrilateral. Okay, so I'm going to substitute in. I'm going to come down here. So for number 5, the measure of angle R plus the measure of angle P is equal to 180 degrees. Angle R is 3x. Angle P is 75 degrees. So in order to solve for x, I'm going to subtract 75. So I get 3x is equal to 105 degrees, or 105 divided by 3, so I'm going to get x is equal to 35. Now, question number 5 says, find the measure of angle R, so I have to go back and plug it in. So, since the measure of angle R is 3 times x, I now know that's 35, so I have 3 times 35, which is 105 degrees for number 5. Now, number 6 is for angle S. So what I'm going to do is to show this to you, I'm going to erase this part right here. And we're going to look at angle S. I'm going to change color. So angle S. Angle S is right here. So if it connects with the side, we eliminate it. So I go up here, so I eliminate R. And I go down this side, and I eliminate P. So that means its Q is its opposite angle because they're across from each other. Okay? So for number 6, angle S and angle Q are opposite angles, meaning they are supplementary. So the measure of angle S plus the measure of angle Q equals 180 degrees. So angle S is 2x degrees, angle Q is 110. So I have 2x degrees plus 110 degrees equals 180. Subtract 110 to move it to the other side. So I'm going to get 2x is equal to 70. Divide by 2. So x is equal to 35. So then I'm going to plug it in. For the measure of angle S, which is 2x, is going to be 2 times 35, which is 70 degrees. Okay? Because it says find the measure of angle S. Okay? Alright. For number 7 and 8, we're going to do the same thing. Okay? 7 says angle W, so here's angle W. So if I follow this direction, I eliminate X. If I follow this direction, I eliminate Z. So that means the one it has to be opposite from is Y. So for number 7, angle W and angle Y are opposite angles. Okay, and since they're opposite angles, they add up to 180 degrees. So when I add these two together, they equal 180. So angle W is x plus 18 degrees. And angle Y is 2x degrees. I combine like terms. So x plus 2x is 3x. My 18 doesn't go with anything, so I'll leave it alone. Subtract 18. I'm going to get 3x is equal to 180 minus 18. I got 162. I divide by 3. So I'm going to get x is equal to 54. Now, that is what x equals. The question says find the measure of angle W. So I have to plug it back in. So the measure of angle W, which is x plus 18, is now 54 plus 18, which is 72. And that's the answer for number 7. Okay, now number 8, we change angles. We are now at angle X. Okay, so we're here. So if it's connected by a side, we eliminate it. So we eliminate W and W and Y, so across from it would be Z. So for number 8, we know that angle X and angle Z are opposite angles. So that means the measure of angle X plus the measure of angle Z is 180 degrees. So angle X is 3y minus 7 degrees, and angle Z is 3y plus 1 degrees. So I add my like terms, so I add 3y and 3y and I get 6y. I add negative 7 and positive 1 and I get negative 6. I'm going to move 6 to the other side by adding. So I'm going to get 6y is equal to 186. I divide by 6 and I get y equals 31. I'm not done with the problem because it asks for the measure of angle x. So I'm going to plug in. So the measure of angle x equals 3y minus 7. So I have 3 times 31 minus 7. So I have 93 minus 7, which is going to be 86 degrees. And that is what we learned today in class. All right, hope this helps you. See you tomorrow.